I think we're alive. I know I'm feeling alive. Um, Welcome everybody to another essential conversation here at Wellbeings. It's a real privilege to be here today along with Peter Bowden, and so I'm just going to find my way here to try to explain this man. Um, uh, Peter is, my opinion, Pete's an Australian Indigenous Medicine Man. And yeah, he's been called to walk a particular path on this earth. You know, he walks the beautiful way. You know, the way through shamanism, sharing traditional based medicine teachings, sacred stories, and healings. You know, which has all been passed down to him by elders and wisdom keepers from all around the world. Yeah, he's got quite a collection of knowledge in his being. Today, me and Pete, we're going to walk together. We're going to wander together a little bit, and we're going to start off. We're going to, really look at pivotal stages in Pete's journey, and then through or wandering together, try to look at like what the struggle is in the world today, and then try to understand these struggles and to find new meanings or find new ways to work through them. We can explore that. So today I'm humbly honored to welcome Pete. Welcome in, brother.
You're welcome, Nigel. It's good to share and connect again. Met a number of years ago in Bali, and I remember walking into your clinic, and you looked at me, and you said, "Who are you?" I said, "What do you mean? Who am I?" He said, "You're different." I had my medicine drum beside me, and he said, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, that's my drum." And then he looked at me and he said, "Are you some kind of shaman or something?" And I said, "Well, I don't call myself a shaman. I call myself a medicine man." And it's only been through walking this path for 35 years that people now call me, or my peers now call me, a shaman. You know, I always just said, I'm Peter the medicine man. Yeah.
Well, Pete, you sound, the way you speak, of course, the viewer is going to see the softness. You know, you're going to feel the heart notes being touched as you hear just the way Pete speaks. But you remind me of an old shaman from Ireland, and he never liked and completely never wanted to be called a shaman. He says the only shaman, he says, that he would be the sort of Siberian shamans. And he says in ancient Gaelic, there was never a word for shaman. The closest word to a shaman was a warrior of the heart. And I think that's what when I was sitting this morning thinking about our time together, I was feeling that, like, and to what an ambassador of being this warrior of the heart, where in the world today, I think we need to emanate that. We need to, like, it's, yes, we got struggles, we got calamities, we got ordeals. Yeah. How we make a way through them is by, finding a way through our own heart and our bodies. And, but yeah, so where do we start, man? Where do we
I was
start?
just going to say, years ago when I first met my elder in Canada, Uncle Joe Silverwolf, and I spent 12 years going backwards and forwards to Canada for 3 to 4 months a year with my wife. And one of the very first things he shared about was, what we called the Black Road, which was the road of healing, which runs from east to west. And he said every single person on the planet goes through the Black Road. It's what you do when you get to the end of the Black Road, and he said that's your healing journey. And he says you can stay on that path of that journey for the rest of your life with your eyes closed, or you can open your eyes and you can walk what we call the Good Red Road. And he called the Good Red Road the Beauty Way. And that was the way of the heart. It was the way of the wisdom keepers. It was the way of the peacekeepers. They say back then it was the teachings of the Dawn Star. And we don't have, we say the Dawn Star was the star of Venus, the heart star. And we don't see much teaching of the Dawn Star anymore. It was all done verbally. And I've only ever seen 2 writers write about the teachings of the Dawn Star. But yeah, it's a beautiful way. It's a way of what we call the beauty way, and walking the Good Red Road.
Yeah, it
So
feels good. Like I get goosebumps here. When I hear you hear you talk about that, it kind of tickles something. My body remembers it. As you talk about
yeah, I'm just going to, as we sit here, I always like to, whenever I do anything live or whenever I do any sharing, I'm actually just lighting the sage,
it.
and I'm
Absolutely.
just going to let it burn a little bit and honor, where we are, and honor the ancestors and creator, and our journeys, all our journeys, whoever is sharing with us in this space right now. And we honor every step that has brought us to this space as we welcome anyone and all that who wish to share with us in this space. So we offer this my heart to your heart, the whole.
Oh,
So we'll just let it kind of blow up and around. Yeah. So I guess I wanted to share with you. I started this journey of my life, and by the age of 2 years old, they diagnosed me with asthma, and at 2 years old, they said that I wouldn't live to 3 years old, and then by the time I was 4 years old, they said that my asthma was pretty bad, and I was put in a home, and I was in that home from 4 years till the age of 14 years.
wow.
So 10 years in this home, and there was other asthmatics in this home, and it was run by nuns and all this sort of stuff. But in that space, um, I learned to deal with my own journey, and I guess in that space, I always knew that there was something different about me. It wasn't till I was 22 that I met my first traditional teachers. I came home from that space of being in that home to not understanding so much of this big wide world, and my parents put me into a high school where there was like 1,600 students, and I'd never seen that many people gathered together before. And, I didn't deal with that too well. And so I took a lot of time off, and I started to swim and took up karate, and I found my own job, and by the time I was 17, 18, I'd bought a motorbike. I was doing karate, and that's where I met a group of men who were bikers, and ended up in a family of bikers for a number of years, and through them met the traditional teachers, and yeah, it was on a full moon on the north side of Brisbane. We used to ride over to a guy's place. His name was Michael Redshirt, and in the teepee, he had a teepee. We didn't know whether he was Native American or not. I've since found out that he was, and he's only just recently passed a couple of years ago. But we used to go over there and sit in the teepee and do what bikers do back then, and yeah, and we there was a girl that I met there, and she was going off to America to spend time with Native American people. And 12 months later, I'm at a house in the Sunshine Coast up near Beerwah, and I get this thump in my back. Actually, it was Glasshouse Mountains. And this thump in the back tells me that there's someone that I've got to go and see. So I walked out to my brothers and I said, does anybody know of something called some sort of expo in Brisbane happening this weekend? And one of the guys said, yeah, there's something called this mind, body, spirit kind of expo happening. And I said, well, I've got to go there. And they looked at me and said, what do you mean you got to go there? And I said, well, I've got to go there. And we got dressed up in our leathers, and there was 4 of us, and we rode down to this thing. It was at the exhibition ground in Brisbane, and we've walked up to the booth to pay to go in, and the lady behind the counter looked at us and said, I think you guys are in the wrong place. And the guys are going, no, our brother here has got to meet somebody here. And she'd go, no, you're in the wrong place, you know. And we paid our money, and she gave us our tickets, and we went in. And the guys are walking up to people in their booths, and they're kind of grabbing them, or they're grabbing their arm, and they're going, are you the person that our brother here has to meet? You know, he's got to meet somebody here, and we don't know who it is. And we've walked around for about an hour, and you know, nothing's appealing. We're out of there. We're going to head to the pub and go catch up with our other brothers at the clubhouse. And then all of a sudden, as we're heading for the door, I heard this Peter, this woman yelling out at me. And as she's yelling out at me, she says, it was the girl that had gone over to America 12 months earlier that I sat with in the teepee. And she come racing over and she says, there's somebody here you've got to meet. And she's giving me a hug. And as she's giving me a hug, I've reached over and I said, you want me to meet those people sitting at the table over there? And she said, yes. And there were 3 Native American people, 2 brothers and one of their wives. And I sat there for the next 3 hours talking to them. And they invited me to Toowoomba for the next day to go and do some ceremony with them. And I had no idea what I was doing. So this friend of mine, she rode with me while I went back to Glasshouse to get some stuff, and then I rode to Toowoomba the next morning with her. And we, I ended up spending the next 5 days that in Toowoomba, making a drum, sitting and getting teachings on medicine wheel. And they put me into Sweat Lodge, and me being full of whatever I was full of at the time, I'm laying in the Sweat Lodge going, get me out of here. I can't do this. It's all right, brother. Stay and breathe. Sit and breathe. You know, and I'm going, no, just let me out. and I made it through my first ever sweat lodge. And then a couple of weeks after that, one of the brothers had to go home for a family thing, and they had planned a tour for the east coast of Australia for 4 people. And because they liked me so much, they actually wanted me to come on the tour with them. And I said, look, I've got commitments with the club and with my brothers. So they actually came and they spoke to their brothers, and they said, we really want him to come on this tour with us. And so I ended up on a 3-month tour with these Lakota elders, sharing what they were teaching along the east coast of Australia, from Brisbane all the way down to Melbourne, Victoria. And that was my first experience. And from there, I just look back and go, wow, I was just in the right place at the right time. And meeting all these people along the way has just been a gift. And I look back at it now and go, well, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here, because I know I was on a destructive path. And yeah, and yeah, really give thanks for the healing that I've experienced over the years.
Yeah, man. And for our viewers out there, it's like, Peter listened. He listened to a voice inside. How often do we get those voices and we discard them, or we muffle them? And the courage it takes to listen to something that sounds so bizarre. Picturing Pete in his biker gear, with the guys, and there's probably a bottle of tequila around somewhere, and or whatever, and just to be able to break through the conditioning and listen and to follow that, and then the wonderfulness of the brotherhood that supported Pete in that and in their own way, and I just feel it's like, yeah, just so I suppose I'm sitting here feeling into the times in my life when I listened, and how it so can radically change the direction of your life. Whether it's changing towards being vulnerable, choosing to talk with this person, choosing to stay in a place a little bit longer. Just those moments where that transmission comes in, and yeah, that set you up, Pete, on that trajectory, man. You have
Yeah,
plenty of journeys after that. Wow.
yeah, plenty.
Mm.
And we're in another change in the whole world at the moment, and it's my elders used to say, this was the time to be alive. This was the time for us to experience the changes, and it's that change now that we're living in, and it's how we listen. It's how we, again, drop into our connection of ourselves. And are we going to walk around still with our eyes closed, or are we going to walk around and listen to the heart, and listen to that connection to Pachamama, Mama Earth, and what she's calling forward for us? And I guess, no judgment on anyone, but follow what is calling you, in this time. I really feel that's the blessing of where we're at this point in time.
Mm. Yeah, it's I think that's now probably more than ever in the history of my lifetime anyway, where we're invited to listen, as a nation, as a world nation, to what feels in alignment. And I think the thing that upsets or challenges and adds complexity to that, Pete, is the struggle with uncertainty, the struggle with the horizon is not clear anymore. We would use words like being in the unknown. And from the shamanic earth medicine perspective, how can you speak to that? Like, how does one be able to allow that to be part of the experience, and like how to stay the course in the choppy waters of uncertainty.
As human beings, as people on the planet, in our life, we've all gone through, or we all journey through at some time, a shadow time in our lives, or we all journey through, or a lot of us journey through the dark night of the soul. And it's an individual experience for every single one of us. And it's how we face that dark night. Do we face it with fear? Do we face it with love? Do we face it with uncertainty? And some of us, a lot of people come out the other side of that dark night, either wanting to change their lives or stay in the same pattern. But most people who come through that change their lives for whatever reason. And it could be health issues, it could be traumas associated with childhood, it could be death associated with someone. What I'm seeing and what I'm feeling with Mama Earth at the moment, Pachamama, is it's a reflection. It's a mirror. What we experience as people here on this earth, Mama Earth is going through that reflection. She's going through her dark night of the soul, and as as part of this planet, we don't know what is on that horizon. We don't know what is beyond those rocky waters. We all used to feel that we knew that, but nowadays, that line is blurry, and none of us really know what is next. But what is next is, for me, to keep coming home to my heart, to keep dropping in, to keep listening, to keep standing in whatever my truth is, and in that, being able to talk about that with family, community, and for myself, and knowing that, when I'm in that space for myself, I'm just a reflection of everything that is going through Mama Earth, and just wanting to understand for myself and for Mama Earth, that if we just take it one step at a time, if we breathe, we come back to our sacred breath, our Wamachi, our life force, and we breathe every day, we will breathe what is right and what is happening for us individually. And for a nation, we've just got to, our nation on Mama Earth, our peoples on Mama Earth, just keep praying for the truth and that light, the biggest thing that I feel is, each day as we give that gratitude, we give that gratitude for who we are, we give that gratitude for waking up, we give that gratitude for staying another day on Mama Earth at night, we say thank you before we go to sleep, our gratitude prayer is probably the one thing that holds us together each and every day, for this journey on Mama Earth. And as long as we can be in that gratitude of life, however Pachamama, Mama Earth evolves from here, let us pray that we can be a part of that, and
I love that.
Yeah, well, yeah, love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and as I hear you talk there, Pete, I start to, I see it. I always see things in a little bit symbolically, in my head. It's a way in which I capture the messages sometimes, and And as I heard you talking, or felt you talking, I was seeing this image of, just people coming together, this sort of idea of, and you used the word community, how important is that coming together now at this time on Mama Earth? How is it? What's your understanding of that? Is that something that you feel that's important, to
Oh,
tribe, community, groups,
yeah,
people,
it's so important now. Like I said, this is the time when um, my elders talk to prophecies and things, and they say, gone are the days of the lone wolf. Gone are those days. And today is the day for coming back together, for creating community, creating family. Sitting in circle, listening to each other. It's so important to listen to the wisdom of the elders, to listen to the wisdom of the land, but more importantly now, our young people, our young people are so much more connected, and they're the way of the future, they're the way of, what is happening on Mama Earth. They're the way of not just being warriors for what is happening here, but the way of the way showers. We can share the wisdom of the earth, but they're what they're going to bring together the new earth. Our younger brothers and sisters, they are so alive these days. And if we can come back and sit, all together in that circle with our eyes open, we have the ability to bring a new earth here on our planet, and I feel, from my heart, it is time to listen. It is time to listen, to hear, and to come together in circle and stand strong in our circles.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever comes towards us in our community, stand strong in it.
Yeah.
Stand strong in, in the ability to know that we're there with our brothers and sisters. Maybe sometimes you don't always see the elders on the front line, but we see our young warriors on the front line, but know that we are right here behind you, holding your back, holding your prayers, holding what is, the drive to take us forward, and this is the way that I see, our communities growing, our communities standing up and, rising up and knowing that we are, all here together.
Yeah,
Mm.
I had this call during the week from a woman from Ireland, and she was talking to me about her son. And he's very smart, very tuned in, but he's lost and depressed. He's like a 16, 17-year-old young man. And
Mm.
I know he's in his room playing the PlayStation or whatever games, and he's deeply removed from the family, and deeply removed from his community and his friends. And she was worried about him. And I says, well, he probably won't want to speak to me, but tell him there's an Irish farmer here. He wants to speak to him, and wants to, and he came on. Fair enough, fair play to him. He came on, and I was joking. I said, yeah. He says, what do you do? I says, I'm a farmer. I plant seeds. They grow, they grow. They don't, they don't. It's fine. I throw out the seeds. And
Mm.
he humored me for a little bit, and we were talking, and I said, well, how are you? He says, I feel lost. He says, I feel lost. I don't feel part of anything. And
Yeah.
I says that's understandable. I can feel that. And he talked to me how he's just, his life is, it's kind of so small, and so I suggested to him a group, adolescent group that we're going to be popping in Ireland, and And he, it's like I love the idea of the elder, and I also believe that there's an elder that comes alive, like in a group of people. There's a wisdom in it
Mm.
when there's people sharing their stories, sharing. There's an innate wisdom in there, and so I suggested to him to join, and he said he would join. But as I was hearing you talking, how many young men are full of the power but are lost to know what to understand, where there's no ritual, where there's no rite of passage to be able to honor or to have something to lean into because mom's busy, dad's busy, or there's no real interest in that capacity of the young man or the young woman. So I'm
Yeah.
noticing, like in your communities, like how do you, from a shamanic perspective, from an earth medicine perspective, what would be something that within that umbrella would be, or through that lens of the heart, what do young men need at this time?
More importantly, most importantly, they need brotherhood. They need brotherhood, and like I found my brotherhood in the gang of bikers that I was with. Some people find their brotherhood in, I don't like to say it, but in the military and things like that. But more so, in our communities, it's not about being in gangs that are destructive or anything, but it's coming back to, we have a code, of brothers, and what I'm seeing now, more and more uh, men's circles are coming together. I ran a men's circle for 12 years, and it was beautiful to see these men come together and to see them come together as to share their stories, to share their pain, to share their fears, their hurts, what they were going through in their own family life. Being a father, being a worker, being a husband. And the ability to hold that together with the support of being able to come into circle and speak what they were speaking, releasing what they were releasing and going through, and then being able to go, wow, I feel better. I can now step out into my power a lot more, and hold that space again. And for our younger brothers and sisters, just coming out of high school or out of uni, um, you know, it's a big wide world out there. It's a big white world, and we don't know what's around the corner. But the big thing I suggest for brothers is to start to look for a gathering of men, that are creating, a circle for each other to come together, to support each other, in a heartfelt way, still in a warrior way. We did we did Vision Quest, we did Sundance, we did sweat lodges, we stoked the fire and carried water, and that was the whole part of my journey in Canada for many years with my elders there. It was chop the wood and carry the water, and then one day, I got asked to share a prayer in Sweat Lodge, and from there it was like, wow. And then being gifted to be able to pour and lodge, and you know, um, going to Sundance, being pierced, with
Hmm.
a piece of eagle bone in the chest, and dancing, 4 days, no food, no water, doing vision quests, no food, no water for 4 days, um, sitting on the land, doing a 16-day return to source, all these things are there to bring us into our manhood and our warriorhood. And the sisters also,
Hmm.
our sisters in their circles, they have their own way of bringing the sisters into their rites of passage, their blood rights, you know, their rights for being a woman, you know, and we've got to honour that. We've got to honour that for our sisters. One of the most profound experiences I had was at Sundance, and I was dancing, and my wife was there, but she came on her moon time just before we were to Sundance, or I was to Sundance. And so it was beautiful because we as men were able to go and help put the Red Lodge together for our sisters. And, you know, we put up some teepees, and we built a little sweat for them to have while we were in our sweats and our lodges. And we filled the teepees full of red cushions and flowers and chocolates, you know. And so each day, you know, while I was dancing, I was actually able to go and say a quick hello to my wife before I danced, you know, and she was loving that they had flowers and chocolates. And I was out there dancing, you know, for 4 days, no food, no water, you know, but it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience to be there to support her through her journey, and I know that she was holding space for me. But you know, these rites of passage, um, they're not around as much as they used to be, and these are the ceremonies that we need to come back to, or you know, I feel we wish to bring back to the earth, you know, and you know, to sit in circle around the fire, even to do that, you know, whether it's with men and women, or whether it's just men and whether it's just women, you know, sit and share. And if we can encourage anyone who is going through, you know, these um, these spaces of feeling alone and feeling, you know, no one else around, you know, let's be that seed planter. Let's, you know, let's be that farmer, you know, and let's welcome them into these circles, you know, and plant the seeds for our young people. Because, like I said, they're the ones. They're the ones that are going to take us into the future. You know, they're the ones that are holding this grounding together here on Mother Earth.
Yeah, so if there's any adolescents or any teenagers watching right now, just take a moment to feel into, the reality of what would it be like to not have to be so alone. What would it be
Yeah,
like to have that community of peers where we can learn from one another? Sometimes, well, I remember me as a teenager. I don't know about you, Pete, but I thought I knew everything. And not only did I thought I knew everything, I thought everybody else didn't know what they were talking about.
no,
So I wasn't very receptacle. I didn't know how to learn. I didn't know how to listen. I didn't know how to soften into a big heart I had then, but it was closed. So just to echo that to the teenagers out there who also struggle with, other people having some sort of gold for them, or to just listen to that place that if you do feel, you don't have to trust it totally. That's but just to take a step towards a community group, or a therapy group, or to a shamanic group, or to a gathering in every country in the world, and especially also in Ireland. There's lots of these rites of passages nowadays. It's an important thing for men
yeah,
and women
yeah,
to learn from other men and women. Our families are lovely; they're great, and
yeah,
each family has got a deficit on some level. We don't get it all. We have to learn to find it out for ourselves in these other environments, these other tribes, these other communities, these other groups. Because, Pete, where else do we grow but in
yeah,
a group?
in a group.
Where we finding our seat in a group, like how we get through that journey to be able to do that. So Well, you're based in Australia at the moment, Peter. Is this something that you're seeing that's on the rise? You know, these sorts of supportive things, not just for teenagers, but for men, women, all
Yeah,
ages.
yeah. I'm actually seeing more men and women coming together in their circles now, and it's a great. I'm also seeing a lot more circles coming together for teenage boys. I know our sisters come together in their own way, but for teenage young men or young men in their teens, we're starting to see a bigger rise of young men coming together to sit in circle, here in this country. I mean, yes, there's still a lot that sit out on the edge and, are still looking and wondering where they're going to go. But I do encourage you, if you can, get into a circle, a gathering, please join in and share. Our families, what we find are our families are our blood families. We are born into our families. And yes, we've got to learn our greatest lessons from our blood families. But we also find as we go through life, we have another family, which is our deepest family, our deeper family of friends, and our friends are what um, helps mold us, helps shapes us as we journey with these friends and we journey in these circles. They so support us. You know, I like to say these days that I was not the black sheep of the family; I was the rainbow sheep of the family. And how many of us are the rainbow sheep? You know, and
Yeah.
as a rainbow sheep, I had to go and find my own way as well, and um, I know that it is hard, and I know that young people are struggling, on this earth to understand what is here and how do we move forward and what is out there for me, especially in this time. But and it's not even a but, it's that coming back to ourselves, coming back to our heart, and finding one or two brothers or one or two sisters, that really resonate with you and really want to hold you as a friend, and hold you dearly. And then, from that, create a circle of friends, and that's how circles start, They start by people coming together and taking that step to sit with each other, and share what's going on. And
Yeah.
yeah, I believe that's probably the strongest way we can go forward as family, but not blood family, but as family, as brothers and sisters, as family, as community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, as I'm hearing you talk, I don't know if you're transmitting this or not, Pete, but I'm seeing all these clusters. Trees they don't grow by themselves. Often they've, you know, they're connected. Either close proximity with another tree or through the root system. It's like they thrive very rarely by themselves. And as I feel this potentiality of where you can sit with somebody or a group of people who don't need to alter your state and can be there with an open heart with you, how that is like these people are the guardians of your future self. you know
exactly.
the development of the flowering process of a fertile soil, where
Yeah,
we can come back to our true essence again through that sort of supportive soil environment group people.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to find any other medicine that's better than that right now, and it's not coming to mind.
I find we're a part of this amazing journey of life, and in this journey of life, um, there is so much nature. there is so much we're part of this oneness here on Earth, knowing that we are all connected to everything that is living, and everything that is living has a heartbeat, and we sit and we talk to the stone people, and the stone people hold the memory of all that has gone before them. So can you imagine if we go and sit on top of a mountain, how much memory a mountain's gonna hold and share with you, or if we go into the deep heart of the forest and we've got that connection of the forest talking to each other, the trees, the plants, they're talking to each other, they know how to talk, and all we've got to do is open our ears and listen to the winds and listen to the song of the birds and listen to what the forest is sharing with each other. When we go down to the beach, and we've got the beach right there, the ocean, mama ocean, hey mama ocean, I'm going to jump into you and I'm going to ask you to take away anything that does not serve me right now. Here, wash it away, and I'm going to enjoy my swim today as I jump into the ocean. And the air that we breathe within that first 10 meters of the ocean is probably the purest air and oxygenated air that we can breathe on the planet, because the way that the waves are breaking in on the beach, on the sand, and it creates that pure air that we can so breathe in, and it's our life force. Again, I've shared that with you, and if we breathe that air, we can breathe that connection to it all. So Mama Nature, she's just as solid as Mama Earth, and we know that yes, there's been a lot of destruction on this earth, but one thing I always say is, if we're feeling something and we want to send it away from us, don't ever send it, to the sky or back to the person who's sending it to you. Give it to the earth. Mama can take that energy and she can transcend it. That was the whole point of us having this connection to the earth. Don't send it out into the sky where that energy can get lost, or don't send something negative back to a person that you're feeling mad with, or to family that you're not happy with. Send it to the earth and let her take it and let her transcend it. Let her turn it into a blade of grass. Let her turn it into a seed. Let her turn it into that little ant down there, and she will transform that energy, and she will bring life to it. We get so mad sometimes and we want to jump up and down. Yeah, let's jump up and down, and let's jump up and down on barefoot on Mama Earth and go, here, Mama, take it. I know you can handle it. Yes, we think there's too much destruction happening on here, on this earth, but through that destruction, if we give it to her, she will transform it. And that's something that we've forgotten here on Mama Earth. Even for me, like when I'm, with my asthma at times, if I have to slow down and take a breath, and what am I going to do with my breath? Who am I going to give it to, or how am I going to breathe? I'm going to breathe from Mama Earth, and I'm going to give my breath to Mama Earth. I once sat with a monk, a Buddhist monk, and he said I had to sit with him for a year. And every 3 days, I had to go and share something different that I had discovered about my breath. And I had 365 days of something different that I had written down, that I had discovered about my breath. And our breath is our life force, and to sit and come up with something different to breathe about. I challenge you all to sit for a month and come up with something different about your breath. and when we struggle with it, let's struggle with it and give it to Mama, not just breathe it out. I know it's hard when we're struggling for breath. We want to breathe, and we want, we're finding it very restrictive in our being, and we can't breathe. We can't get that air in. And with asthmatics, we can't get the air out. We can breathe in okay, but we can't get that air out. And it's that build up in our lungs, that's going to send us into our spin or send us unconscious because we're not releasing what we need to release from our breath, And so if we can release it and give it away to Mama Earth, and the giveaway ceremony, the giveaway is the most important ceremony that we can do on Mama Earth. We can give our breath, we can give our song. If we're walking along the beach and we pick up a shell, give something instead. Don't just take it. How many of us take the feathers? How many of us take the branches? How many of us take the shells? How many of us take a stone? What have we given instead?
Yeah.
And the giveaway, in all our life, the giveaway, no matter where we are and what aspect of our life we're in, if we can give something in the place of what we're receiving, that's, even in our sickness, even in our traumas, even in our hospital beds, we can give something away, we can then receive. And
Yeah.
sometimes the giveaway is our breath, where we do leave this earth and we do transition, and are we transitioning to come back again, or are we transitioning to go somewhere else? And that's probably the most important aspect of our journey here on life. Are we ready to give of our life? Are we ready to give our life? Are we ready to transition? And one of the things Uncle Joe used to say is, Peter, when I first met him, he said, have you learnt your death song yet? And I go, what do you mean, my death song? He said, well, when you transition, are you going to sit down and sing your song? Are you going to celebrate in song? Or are you going to celebrate in fear? Or are you going to journey in fear? Are you going to hang on and hang on and hang on? Or are you going to surrender and let that freedom of your song carry you to where you want to go, or where you next need to be in your soul's journey?
Yeah, how we die is as important as how we live, but how we can really die well is when we start to live well.
Exactly.
But I'm just so moved by the tapestry here today as we're coming to an end, Pete. We got this resourcing in our hearts. We got this resourcing in our breaths. We have this resourcing from others or other group community. We got this resource from Mother Nature. We got this resource from the act of giving. It sort of almost reminds me of the Balinese when my wife, when she eats a meal, she makes a little offering, give a giveaway, to receive. There's this small couple of grains of rice. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you made me understand it more in your sharing there, Peter. And then, yeah, just such a rich resource of how to get fed in new ways to all the viewers out there. If there's a struggle, if we're getting wobbled by life, if we're depressed, if we're lost, if we're stuck, if we're in an addictive cycle, if we're not really liking the person we are, we can get resourced in our heart. We can get resourced in our breath. We can get resourced by the other. We can get resource, come and sit beside a river, sit on a rock, remember, and make these offerings when you don't have anything, you give something,
Piece of
get
hair,
fed. Yeah.
song,
Yeah.
sing.
So just before we end, Pete, what would you like to say to anybody who's listening, who's struggling? What would be something you'd like to tell them? Although you've told us a lot today, there's such a tapestry here of support that people can take from. But what feels important to say as we come to the end here?
My biggest prayer is to, really come back and to self. Come back to yourself. And when you sit with yourself, and when we sit in, our own prayer, and just listen, and you will be guided. Something in your heart will tell you what to do next. And it's taking that time. It is really taking that time to just come back and listen to what is in you. The one example that I can give you was after I had my worst experience with my asthma in my life when I was 40. I came out of that hospital after being in there 17 times. And I said, I'm not going back again. And I sat on the floor for hours at my house. And I said, okay, what have I got left to do? And a voice told me to pick up my drum. And I picked up my drum. And I just played my drum for the next 4 days. Just played and breathed and didn't do anything else, and just listened to what my drum told me. And that was the bigger part of stepping forward into my journey of really starting to bring what my elders had shared with me to life, and to start to give back what they had given me. And I guess that is part of the giveaway for me, is to share the wisdom of my teachers. But it took me that time to come in to my deepest despair and go, okay, I listened. Again, I listened. And that's what started me on my journey. And I guess that's what took me through my 10 years of going through that space in that home. There was no one else really to rely on in that home except myself. And if I didn't listen to myself and trust myself, I guess I wouldn't be here today. And so listen and breathe. Listen. So, and I honor all of everyone's journey out there. We're all going through it. And come back to your heart and listen. Feel that truth for you.
I'm glad you listened and you're here today, Pete, with us, and the thousands and thousands of people that you've helped over the course of your 35 years of being a medicine man. For anybody who's been moved by what you've heard today, of course, please feel free to stretch out, do a bit of a exercise and press the like button, the share or the subscribe. But if you're really moved by Pete, or something touched you today, or something's still alive in you, then please check the links below. You can connect with Pete through his website and his different on Instagram or on Facebook. But yeah, if you're struggling, this is our theme here with well-being. We want to have essential conversations to allow there to be bridges towards where we find ways, we find avenues, we find paths where doors never existed. They can exist now when we reach out to one another, reach out to the community, slow down, connect with ourselves, connect as Pete said, connect with the self, the heart, the breath, the nature, the other. give thanks. So thank you for listening today to me and Pete's walking, going walkabout, and it's been a real honor here, and we'll be back next week doing what we do. So thank you all, and thank you, Pete. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. It's really been
Brother.
a pleasure meeting you over the years, and yeah, it's beautiful to still be a part of this walk with you.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
we might be walking again together very soon.
yeah. Bless
Thank
everyone.
you.